Thanks a lot, Andy, for doing this. First question is, you've coached champion sides in the past.
Andresh, sorry, just before you start. Thank you.
Yeah, you've coached champion sides in short formats before. What is the key in being coach of a champion short format side?
In franchise cricket, it's a very different type of coaching to what you might find when you're working with a national. I worked for many years with England, obviously, as an assistant coach and a head coach, and then also with our academy at Loughborough University. So this type of coaching is different. Obviously, results in any format of the game, whether it's international cricket or franchise cricket, are important. But I think the main difference really is the medium to long-term development that you're looking for with a national team, where you're looking at building for those sorts of elongated periods of time, in comparison to when you get together with franchise teams. Sometimes you've only got 2 practice sessions to get ready. So I think given those constraints, getting people comfortable with each other very quickly and grouping together and heading in the same general direction is really important. And part of that, I think, is making that group feel special, easy in the franchise game, for players or coaches that are going from one tournament to the next to drift almost, or want something more than that. We want something more than that out of life. We want to engage people. We want to be excited about what we do. We want our time together to be special. And then when time available to us in our lives. So that is the way I see it.
Andy, you've been a champion batsman yourself. How much of that experience do you draw when you're coaching sides, especially in the shorter formats?
Well, the first response I'd say to that question is, you don't have to have been a particular player to become a successful coach. I mean, there are great examples of all sorts of very successful coaches in different sports that have not played at the highest level. But specifically to your question, I do believe it helps me. I can empathize with the players. I know where I can have an educated guess about how they're feeling in certain circumstances, because undoubtedly I would have felt the same feelings of doubt or fear or joy or excitement or pride or invincibility. So I think I think we all call on our prior experiences and it formulates who we are. And I think we all call on feelings that were generated by some of those experiences to formulate how we deal with other people in the present. And my playing career is probably no different in that regard. I mean, some of the best coaches I've come across are ex-teachers, and they would be doing the same. They'd be calling on their previous experiences and the lessons they've learned, and some of the skills they've learned, and the understanding of how other people learn and how they bring that knowledge to the party. So we all have different paths and that insight to working with these young guys.
A generation of Indian, Pakistani and Sri Lankan bowlers still dread at the sight of you with the bat. And I know, because I've spoken to a lot of them, batting on slow pitches was an art that you perfected. there is a possibility with so much cricket having been played in the UAE in the recent past, the T10 might see some slow pitches. What would your advice be, especially to your team's batsmen, to bat on those kind of tracks?
Yeah, I mean, I like your description of the art of batting on slow pitches. That's pretty much how I saw it when I toured subcontinent of it. I some of the and informative practices I ever did were on the outfield with young net bowlers just bowling to me on the rough turf on an outfield, and me pretend Kumble or Maninder Singh bowling at me with people around the bat, and that sort of development of your game. Here in the UAE, it's typical subcontinent type conditions at all. I mean, we've just seen Australia and New Zealand get into the final T20 World Cup, and their specialist skills are not in that area really, and the seamers had a huge effect through the tournament. So it's typical subcontinent cricket here. But these pitches, since we're playing so many games in such a short space of time in the T10, we might see the pitches turn a little more. And I think the basics of apply. So picking length and moving your feet according to the length of the ball is still a crucial skill and understanding of your game that you're going to have to deploy well out there in the middle. Otherwise, you'll get caught lunging at balls that aren't there, or get caught by a turning or a skidding ball, where if you are picking length well, your mistakes can be minimized. The pull shot against spinners in T20 has become an incredibly powerful tool. Not only for scoring runs, but also putting the spin bowlers under pressure as they try to drag their length back from getting hit off the front foot. So a lot of those basics still apply. Hitting, basics like hitting the ball where the fielders aren't still applies, especially on larger outfields. And it'll be interesting to see how what the organizers do with the length of boundary in this tournament, as we saw through the T20 World Cup with a larger boundary. Had a really good balance between bat and ball, I thought. I also thought that in the last T10 last year, that the boundary sizes were too small, and that mitigated against the seeing a huge part in the game. So I'd prefer to see larger boundary sizes, a fairer game where we bring both spin and seam to the party and test the real skill and real power of batsmen.
You've also been a successful coach at Abu Dhabi T10 when you won it with Maratha Arabians, and amazingly with the same captain, DJ Bravo. Any memories of that experience that is still alive in you?
Yeah, great memories of working with DJ Bravo, Red Maratha, where we won it. And then the second year where we lost in the final, still had a great time with DJ. He's a great guy and a very, very good captain and a good leader. Was shirt a couple of days ago. We were asked a few questions up on stage, and I was asked a question about DJ and his captaincy. And I think what stands out about DJ and his captaincy is he's a pretty relaxed guy. I think we all see that and understand that and know that. But actually, when it comes to a team meeting or speaking to the guys before he goes across the boundary line, or when he's out in the middle, switch and gets businesslike. And I like that. When he speaks, people listen to him in the dressing room. or meeting room type environment. And I think that balance between being relaxed and not taking yourself too seriously, and not taking the game too seriously, but then switching on and accepting the professionalism of the venture and your role in it. I think that's a really lovely balance. And then he's got all this experience to call on as well. He's a good competitor. He likes winning. He doesn't shy away from the reality of the fact that we're chasing wins. And he gets that balance right.
You know, when I look at you and when I look at DJ, I look at two different worlds coming together. So has he taught you some of his dance moves, or have you sort of calmed him down? Because he seems a lot calmer since he has met you the last couple of years.
Chandresh, I would not even step onto the dance floor, let alone the dance floor containing DJ Bravo. So no, I'm amused by his dancing and his singing, and I think it's brilliant. And I love how two very different people can come together and have a good time together.
Andy, you've coached world over in various franchise tournaments. Have you picked up anything in specific which has enriched you as a coach over the years?
Well, the first place I go to when you say that is, firstly, a very big yes. I've picked up a lot of things that have enriched me, is that I've met amazing people and made some really good relationships from my varied experiences around the world in these franchise competitions. And that might sound a little bit sort of and soft, if you like, but it's one of the great bonuses of the friend. You're meeting very talented cricketers. That's one thing, but you're meeting people from all over the world. So I've loved my experiences in the Pakistan Super League, and experiencing a little bit of the Muslim culture. I've loved my experiences at the CPL with the West Indian dressing room. I've loved my experience with the Punjab Kings in the IPL. My role there is different as an assistant coach, but it's basically an Indian dressing room with a few overseas stars. So experiencing these different cultures, but also, I of course understand that you can't be great friends with everyone, but learning about other people and forming people and becoming good friends with some and just getting to know others better. That's the biggest thing that I take from franchise cricket. A specific question.
And you again linking up with leaders in their own right, like people like Owen Morgan, Adil Rashid, especially Morgan, because you've seen him at close quarters. When England won the T20 World Cup in 2010, he was a player, but in the last 5-6 years, he's really risen in stature. Is he a leader in spite of not having the C next to him in this franchise of Delhi Bulls?
Oh, he will be, undoubtedly. He led in his own way when squads that I was involved with. He even played some test cricket when I was still head coach. So pretty much held together the England limited overs batting for a period of time when his batting was just incredible. Then he went through a little period, I think, where he became a little over-reliant on the reverse sweep. And his numbers went down a little. And he also went through a period where he struggled with his batting, where in his trigger, he got very, very low. And he's ironed out those things and obviously become central to their batting unit. And yes, his form fluctuates like everyone else's. but he's become a superb leader. People like following him. He's got genuine confidence. He's not afraid to lose, and people like following leaders like that.
And you've worked very closely with the Afghanistan team, and one talent that stands out and who's also part of the Delhi Bulls is Rahmanullah Gurbaz. Are you excited by the development that you've seen in him in the last couple of years?
Chandras, yes, I'm very excited about the prospects of Gurbaz. I think he's a highly talented young man. But I think we've all seen highly talented young men not fulfill their potential. I want to see him starting to be more consistent with what he puts out there, runs-wise. I think he's a great young guy. He works really hard at his game. He's not shy of hard work. He thinks about his game. He's very proud about what he delivers. I think he's a really great young man. I want to see him fulfill his potential over the next few years. I think he's got a great technique as well. So he's come to prominence and learned his game through T20 cricket. But actually he's got so he can play quite orthodox shots if he wants to and score very quickly. But he's also got the capacity to innovate like most guys in T20 cricket learning. So I expect a lot of him. I think he's going to be the mainstay of Afghanistan's batting. His challenge, though, and it's one that he has to overcome, this is my own personal view, is his challenge is, how do I build innings? So we saw such a brilliant example of that last night from Kane Williamson, who had a slow start, and not every innings has to start slower, of course. But that is a man who understands the game, and he understands his game, and he knows how to go through the gears, both up and down, to ensure that he maximizes his chances of returns for his team. And I think that's the area that Gurbaz has to learn. How does he balance risk and reward? How does he make the best decisions possible? Obviously, he can't be perfect in that regard. No one is. But that's the area of his game that is going to determine whether he becomes a world-class player and not just a talented player who looks good.
I was just chatting with Gurbaz before I started chatting with you. I was doing an interview with him, and he almost reveres you, almost like a god-like status. And he says that you are simply too good, because you worked with him recently at the T20 World Cup and last year as well. And so he's like in awe of you in the way you deal with him, talk to him. And I could sense that, when I speak to you as well, the feelings mutual about the talent that the guy has. Did the time that you spent with him at Afghanistan also help develop that bond with him?
Yes. Yeah, I've got a really good relationship with Gurbaz. He's a great young guy, and we get on really well, and we enjoy talking about the game, and even some things outside of the game. But in fact, your description is an interesting one, because it's an interesting one from a coaching perspective. Because when we inevitably develop relationships, when we spend with people, you've got to be really careful as a coach. So like you used a really crazy word, revere. So that means that when I interact with Gurbaz as his coach, I have a very responsible position, because he's going to listen to me. And one of the first positions that I've learned that you need to take heed of as a coach when you're interacting with your players is a bit like a doctor. First, do no harm, because it's very easy to do harm. You've got an ego yourself. You've got your own pattern recognition of stuff that has happened in the past, and you have to be really careful not to impose these things on a young player like Gurbaz. And so your description of your chat with Gobaz in relation to me has reminded me that, you know, as a coach and a head coach, you've got to be, you've got to really got to take care about what you say, because you influence other people, of course. Well, you need to influence people in the right direction and in a healthy way.
Andy, I'm curious to know
like other coaches, and I want to minimize those.
And Andy, I'm curious to know, you know, is T10 and T20 also, is it a captain's format as much as the other formats are, or outside inputs really help? You know, I'm saying how important is the role of a captain in such a short format, especially, you know, with things happening so fast?
It's as crucial as in any other format of cricket. I think the captain's role in cricket compared to most sports is much more influential. The amount of decisions that they really means that the cumulative effect of good decision making really does the possibilities of you coming out on top. So just because it's only 10 overs long, I don't think changes that. And in some regards, his interactions with the bowlers, his relationship with the bowlers, how much decision-making power he hands over to the bowlers on field setting and tactics, whether he speaks to them mid-over and they make any adjustments. These are all out there in the middle. So the captain play a hugely influential role. I'm lucky that I've got Bravo there to do that.
And in that same vein, I wanted to check with you, you know, Bravo and Owen working together, that equation and like coming together and like putting their heads together, that will be like twice as much power compared to the other teams, won't it be?
I don't know whether it works up to twice as much power, but the quality of their communication and how well they listen to each other and how well they share ideas, that will be interesting to watch actually over the next couple of weeks. They are, you know, they've both got tons of experience in cricket and leadership. And I know Owen pretty well, and I know that he hasn't got an ego that would have any problem working really in a really healthy way with DJ.
Final question, how confident are you about Delhi Bulls being the Abu Dhabi T10 champion this year?
I'm confident that we'll play good cricket. I think we've got a good squad together. Obviously, Jason Roy missing out because he couldn't get an NOC from the PCB, which is really disappointing. Is a blow. They're both world-class cricketers, but I think we've got a really good squad together. We've got a lot of young West Indians in our attack. We've got some power in our batting lineup and we bat quite long because of the number of all-rounders in our side. You know, we could have Adil Rashid batting at number 10. We'll have a good seam attack. There won't be a shortage of options for Bravo to use. We've got Adil Rashid and you know, I think we'll play good cricket. How confident of winning it? Well, the first goal is to get into the playoffs, and get our guys clear about what roles they're going to play, and then in amongst a pattern of play that we can gel over the first few games, then also test their ability to adapt and be flexible under the stewardship of DJ at Bravo.
Thanks a lot, Andy, for your time. Really appreciate you giving us time for this. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure, Chandresh. Nice to see you.
Yeah.